Hey everybody, so my name's Crystal. This is my first ever stencil and tattoo little tutorial video. I hope you like it. I love tattooing and I hope you do too. Alright, so this is stencil stuff. This is what I use on real skin. This brand of skin is called real skin. There's a shiny side and a matte side. You want to tattoo on the matte side. So stenciling on fake skin is always kind of a crapshoot. It's not like real skin. It doesn't absorb anything. So you're kind of hoping that you put on enough for your stencil to stick and you don't put on too much so your stencil bleeds. And just never assume your stencil is gonna stay that well over the tattooing process. This is where being really careful with your wiping and dabbing is important. So these are the two pieces to my stencil. I like to layer things. This is kind of what I'm known for. It's kind of my favorite, and I'd like to show you how I do it here. So I've got this piece. We've cut it right along this edge here because this is where our layers are going to overlap. And then we're going to bring it to this edge here so we can fit everything in. So we're going to put it there and press it down lightly in the hopes that our stencil sticks but does not bleed. Always the goal. I've tried a lot of different stencil things on fake skin, and honestly, I think none of them work that fantastic. So this piece I want to be right in here, so we're just gonna plop it in right there. And then press down. I don't know where you all are from, but it is scorching hot in my city, let me tell you. All right, let's see how this sucker turned out. Let's try from this side. Okay, we've got enough that we can see here. And this one. All right, so we're okay. It's not as dark as you'd, of course, want to stencil on skin, but sometimes you just got to work with what you got. So this is what we've got. So when you're tattooing a fake skin, don't pull out Vaseline like you would on a normal tattoo, or it will wipe away your tattoo. So I'm working with FYT supplies here. I've got a 14 round shader, a 9 round shader, and a 5 round liner. So normally when I'm tattooing real skin, I would start from here and move my way up, or I would do all of these and all of this. But because I'm working with a skin and we don't have the best longevity with our stencil, I'm just going to work along these outer edges and move my way in is usually the best. So I wouldn't say tattooing fake skin really is super comparable to tattooing real skin. It's so much different. It's so much harder to get the ink into the skin as opposed to on a human. I never ever put my needle out this far, and I generally run my volts around 6 volts, but for this I'm going to try it at 7, and we're going to see what we end up with here. This is my 14 round shader. So not bad, it went in pretty good, better than I was actually expecting. So let's go on to the next one. I like to push and pull my lines just depending on the comfort of my hand. I try to get steadiness with my pinky finger kind of as a pivot, and that really works for me. Okay, so that's not bad. And then here where it's a little lighter, just lightly come in on a bit of an angle, kind of like an airplane landing, and you can tighten that up there. So that's not too bad for fake skin. So again, pushing, I'm using my pinky finger here kind of as my pivot. The base of my hand is on the ground. So my hand feels pretty steady. If it was feeling unsteady, I would definitely stop in the middle of the line, reset my hand, and then connect it again. So for this line, I like to call this the side winder. It's an easier push for me for these, so it's literally just to the side. You can probably see my pinky finger is also kind of butted up against what would be my stretching hand. Sometimes I use them in conjunction with each other. All right, I'm just gonna speed this up and get through these last few here for you guys. Is our 5 round liner. So we're gonna create some nice contrast here with those big lines. Oh, aren't they so nice? Make me very happy. Wow, my machine is very loud right now. If you're interested in what machine I use, it is the Bishop Wand Packer with the, there we go, Bishop battery. It is the best machine. I have used a lot of different machines in my career, and this is without a doubt my favorite. Let's put some more lines in here. Alright, I'm switching out to my 9 round shaders. As you can see, I can't see a lot of where these 9 round lines are, but I have my design, well, over here. I suppose it could be over here, so I can see it. I can like reference back to where it should be. this 99 shader here, I would like to publicly state that I hate fake skin. If you are using fake skin right now, trying to learn, and you are feeling discouraged, let me tell you, it is not like real skin. It is very, very different, and I currently am feeling discouraged. You're just trying to learn techniques and basics so that one day you can transfer this into real skin. But let me tell you, this is not what people's skin is like. On occasion, you'll get someone with something we call rubber skin, which is like this, but that is not the general experience. I'm back to 14 round shader here. The 9 round shader. All right, let's go. Oh, so in case you're wondering, I almost always use round shaders for most of my lining. I use a couple liners here and there, but rarely. I love round shaders. I find that they give you like very bold lines, very dark lines, and I appreciate like delicate mandala work and delicate ornamental work, but I definitely cannot say that that is my style of work. I like boldness, I like heavy shading, I like heavy contrast. I like tattoos to stand out. So round shaders are definitely I also love Dotwork. I find though that I do more Linework heavy pieces than Dotwork, and I think it's because Dotwork can be hard on my arms. I still get a lot of pain, though it's significantly decreased. I'm gonna play with fire a little bit here. So normally when I do stuff like this, I do all of my same size lines in a row, and I do them all the same way in a row. It saves time. So we're gonna hope we don't lose the stencil, and we're going to go like this. So it's faster for me to do all of these vertical lines. Hopefully you can see this. And then come back and do one direction's sideways and then the other direction. I don't know why it's faster, but it just, I don't even know if it is faster, but all right, this is a 14 round shader. So we are gonna make these guys 3D. So for these little spaces, I'll generally use a 14 round shader or a 9 if it's really tiny. Fill it in. And I don't generally do circles, I more do like a kind of like side to side motion. I know that wasn't possibly super helpful, but it works for me. I kind of change how I do black depending on the piece or what needle I'm using, or sometimes the area or what the person's skin is like. There's really so many different things. So for this one, I'm just gonna go right along this edge here. And then I'm gonna do the same thing. So what we're doing right now is we are making these guys 3D. I don't know how good this skin is gonna fill, but I'm gonna do my best here. Alright, so I've never actually used a mag on fake skin before, but I would not fill this section in real life with a 14 round shader, so I'm not gonna do it here. So I pulled out an 11 curved mag. I'm hanging it real far just for the sake of fake skin. And so for this, we're just kind of going forward with that same side to side motion. Splattery though. Now get up to the edges, just fill them in a little. This way. Depending this section. Sometimes if I go through and it's a little liney, I'll just do a real light needle barely in the skin, kind of run over it like that, just to get it in there. Just like that. Funny, I'm really pushing into the skin and I'm really hanging everything out. And I'm just thinking in my head how horrible it would be if I actually did this to a client. It would be the most awful experience. I'll show you later how far I actually hang my needles out. And also, riding the tube is okay. I don't know why lately people are so pissy about people riding the tube. There are some rules in tattooing that are not unbreakable, because I kind of feel like every rule is breakable to a degree, but there are, to a degree, I mean, but there are there are definitely rules that you want to try not to break, right? There are some things that like just work. There are some things that you must do. I do not think that riding the tube, there's anything wrong with it. I do it sometimes, especially if I'm like on an inner thigh or an inner arm where the skin is thin and easy to blow out. I'm gonna ride my friggin' tube, and I'm not going to assume that my client won't move, because likely they will. Those places are really sore, and when they move, if my needle is inside my tube, then it's not going to go too far into their skin and blow out part of their tattoo. But if I'm being overconfident and I'm hanging my needle out, it might go too far and they might have blowout, and I don't really want to do that. And there are lots of tattoo artists who are super confident and have super steady hands, and they can hang their needles out super far on any part of the skin, and I have so much respect for them. But again, I have damage in my hands and damage in my arms from this job. I do not have that kind of strength in my fingers. I just don't. I can do a lot, and I also know my limits, and I think it's very important to know your limits. Then you don't mess up people's tattoos. But there's nothing wrong with riding the tube, and I've noticed a lot of tube ride shaming on the internet lately, and it's fucking stupid. Sorry for the swearing, but it is. It's ignorant, and it's disrespectful, and it's unnecessary. Unless someone is doing something that is harming people or that is dangerous for clients' health and safety, there is no reason to be negative in people's comments, on people's posts. There's no reason. Everyone is trying their best with the knowledge they have. Everyone is doing their best. And just because you wash the dishes one way and I wash the dishes another way does not matter. Neither way is better as long as the dishes are clean. There are lots of ways to tattoo people. There are people coming up with new things every day, and good on them. But for people to shame people because they are working within their comfort level is just gross as far as I'm concerned. It's gross and it's unnecessary, and it just reeks of insecurity. So don't be an insecure asshole. Be supportive. If you think that there's a better way for someone to do something, how about say something like, hey, I see that you're doing this way. Have you ever tried it this way? It works really well for me. And then maybe instead of being negative and tearing someone down when they're just doing their best, you can help them and you can actually create change, positive change in their life, and do it in a way where they don't feel like they're being bullied. Bullying sucks, and I got bullied a lot when I was a kid, and it was different than it is now, because now you guys can bully people when they're at home. My bullies had to follow me home if they wanted to do that, but you can bully people when they're at home, and you can make them feel bad about themselves, and that's just not cool. It really isn't. Like, we're in an industry that should be supportive. Layers, I love them. So doing shading, this really gives a lot of dimension to your pieces, and it is just my favorite. I love it. So I'm moving my hand. If I move my hand a little faster and come back over this way, we'll get rid of those mag lines. But this is my fave. Sometimes also I will do circles coming off instead of this kind of push shading that kind of sometimes leaves me with mag lines. Not always, but sometimes. And I just usually go over them in a different direction to get rid of them. But this is like my favorite part. And I like to make it dark right in the edges. And then come out a bit. It's a little different on here, of course, because it's not real skin, but you get the idea. Some people like to stipple their dot work, which is a totally different technique. I think that it's good for shading, like in flowers and stuff, and there's some people that do some real smooth stippling, but I feel like for dot work, this kind of stuff, just doing individual dots is cleaner looking and more true to the actual form. That's just my opinion, I guess. And if you're watching this, I guess my opinion is the one that you're listening to, so that's my opinion. And if you find there's a little too much space, you can just go back and plant your machine right in between those dots. And that's what gives you that nice 3D effect here. Another thing that I do on reels, I'm pretty good at it because I've done so much of this, but on real skin, I will mark in at least one cube, which is my black side, and then once I'm done that, which is my dotted side, just so that I don't screw it up and accidentally fill in the wrong side, because it can happen with these kind of designs. If you are looking at it one way, it looks one way, but if I move my chair over to the right, it looks like an entirely different design, and that can really mess you up, especially if you've had a long day and you're tired. So yeah, just take a disposable marker that's fresh and mark it on the skin, or alternatively you can put it right into your drawing so that it's already on your stencil. Maybe put an X in all of the black spots and a check mark in all of the dotted areas, you know, whatever works for you. But definitely, if you don't have a lot of experience with doing 3D shapes, don't let your ego tell you that you are above doing it incorrectly, because it happens to the best of us, and that's not something you can shade your way out of. If you fill in a space that's supposed to be empty or supposed to be dotted with black, you're screwed. If you fill in a space black with dots, you're okay, but the chances of that happening are unlikely because you usually will start with the black. So that's my opinion on that. Plan ahead to make your life easier. And trust me, that is one thing that makes it easier. Every time I do a 3D tattoo, I have a moment. Even if I have marked it all out, which 99% of the time I have, I will have a moment of pure panic internally where I'm like, oh my God, I did it wrong. I didn't, because I planned ahead, but I've moved my seat and all of a sudden it looks different and I literally break out in sweats. So prepare yourself and set yourself up for success. Hopefully you all don't mind my ramblings. It's funny, in my real life, I don't really talk that much. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just hyper-focused, maybe I'm tired, I don't know, but talking for this video has been actually really fun for me, which is hopefully really fun for you. I don't know. Kind of wish there was someone on the other end of this conversation. It's kind of weird just talking to yourself, but I don't know. Yeah, so Dotwork, when I want to make it have a little bit more oomph here, I'll just add a couple more dots down at the bottom and just grade them out until it's on skin, so, but until it's a look that I like. Just like this. Again, if you find it's a little spacey, you can just go back and add a couple. So, again, this is my first time tattooing the skin in forever. A few years at least. And I think it turned out pretty decent. Pretty decent. Let's see. Just make sure. So this is our skin. Let's see it up close.